And now onto our dinosaur of the day, Ornithodesmus, which was a request from Tyrant King via our Patreon and Discord, so thanks. It was a Dromaeosaurid that lived in the Early Cretaceous in what is now the Isle of Wight in England. And it looked like other raptors, because dromaeosaurs are raptors. It walked on two legs, it was covered in feathers, it had a small head and a long tail. It's estimated to be almost 6 feet, or about 1.8 meters long. And it probably had sickle claws on its second toes, being a dromaeosaur, and it was probably carnivorous. It's had an interesting history. Originally, it was thought to be a bird based on its hip bones, the sacrum, and then later it was considered to be a pterosaur. But then eventually, more pterosaur bones were found of a different individual, and a study found that Ornithodesmus was a small theropod, and the other bones assigned to it were pterosaurs. So the type and only species is Ornithodesmus cluniculus. It was described in 1887 by Harry Seeley based on 6 fused vertebrae from the hip, the sacrum, that William Fox had found. And Seeley, as I mentioned, thought the fossils were from an early bird, so he named it Ornithodesmus, which means bird-link.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm seeing where that ornitho part comes from at the beginning of that name when you're saying they thought it was a bird, then they thought it was a pterosaur. You don't usually have dinosaurs named ornitho. I mean, you have some, the really bird-like ones.
Yeah.
But...
and raptors are pretty bird-like.
That's very true. Good point.
So the species name, cluniculus, means little buttock and refers to its small thighs.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I also like that with that name, just going back to it being ornith for bird, this is in 1887, right? And that's back well before it was established that dinosaurs definitely evolved into birds.
Well, Huxley thought so too.
He did, but I don't know where Harry Seeley was on the debate, and I don't know where the peer reviewers and all that was at the time, because you've got somebody noticing this is a very bird-like animal from some bones, and then it turns out to be a dinosaur.
Yeah.
It's just a fun... You're on the right track.
Seeley, I think, was on the side of, they believe it was birds and pterosaurs being really closely related. So later in 1887, the same year that Ornithodesmus was named, John Hulk wrote in an anonymous paper, though I wasn't able to figure out how people knew it was him. And he suggested the fossils were from a pterosaur instead. And Seeley later agreed when he described the skeleton of a pterosaur that he thought was a close relative to Ornithodesmus. He actually named it another species of Ornithodesmus, Ornithodesmus latidens. And Seeley considered the sacrum of both species to be similar. For more than 100 years, it was the skeleton of Ornithodesmus latidens that is what people thought of when they were thinking of Ornithodesmus, and not the fragmentary skeleton of Ornithodesmus cluniculus.
Yeah, because that was what you said, basically just hip bones.
Yeah, so instead of thinking about hip bones, they're thinking of this more complete skeleton, which was a pterosaur. But then in 1993, Stafford Howes and Andrew Milner re-examined Ornithodesmus cluniculus and found that it was a theropod, not a pterosaur, and they suggested that it was a troodontid, but a later study found it to be a dromaeosaurid.
Jeez, take it from a pterosaur to one of the most other problematic groups, troodontid.
Well, but then we got to raptor.
That's good. The dromaeosaurid group is a little more stable.
Yeah. And since it was named in the 1800s, it means Ornithodesmus is one of the first known dromaeosaurs.
Oh, that's fun. Retroactively.
Yeah.
We thought it was a pterosaur, an early pterosaur, and an early bird, and now we think it was a dromaeosaur, one of the first.
It was a bird, a pterosaur, a plane, a raptor. And anyway, all the known pterosaur bones that were named, well, that used to be Ornithodesmus, became a new pterosaur genus, Istiodactylus, that was named in 2001.
Yeah, because you have almost a chimera type situation. You've got pterosaur bones assigned to a genus, which is now going to be a dinosaur. You got to pull those out, put them somewhere else.
Yes.
I like that name.
Yeah, it is a nice name.
Istiodactylus.
Yeah, but we're talking about the dinosaur.
Okay, sorry.
Ornithodesmus. So the 1993 study found Ornithodesmus to be similar to Ornithoides, a troodontid, but they said it wasn't for sure a troodontid because of, quote, the limited nature of the holotype. Which makes sense. It's just those hip bones. To be fair to Seeley, in 1887, troodontid, ornithomimid, and oviraptorosaur dinosaurs hadn't been recognized yet.
Yeah.
So he had some limited options.
Yeah, there weren't very many dinosaurs described at that point. Certainly not that many late diverging theropods.
Also from the 1993 paper, they wrote, quote, in view of the apparent closeness of troodontids to birds, it is ironical to note that Ornithodesmus cluniculus was originally identified as the sacrum of a primitive bird by Seeley, 1887, before being reassigned to the pterosaurs.
Yeah, that's like what I was saying. They thought it was a bird, and then people were like, oh, no, that's totally wrong. It's not at all like a bird. It's a pterosaur. And then it comes back, oh, it's a dinosaur. And it's a dinosaur that's pretty closely related to birds.
Yes, it is. And going even further, a 2019 study found that it was in the family Unenlagidae, which is a subgroup of dromaeosaurs.
Largely in South America.
Although this one wasn't.
Well, that's cool.
Some other dinosaurs that lived around the same time and place as Ornithodesmus include theropods like Neovenador and Aristosuchus, and ornithopods like Iguanodon and Hypsilophodon, sauropods like Pelorosaurus and the ankylosaur Polacanthus. And other animals that lived around the same time and place include fish, lizards, turtles, crocodilians, birds, and mammals.
It's a cool dinosaur.
It is.
Not as much for how cool the find is, but the story behind it is pretty neat.
Yeah. And all the mix-ups.
And being on the right track without even realizing it.
Yeah.